I've just arrived at Knokke on the Belgian coast by train, and it's a short walk to the tram stop. Here I can buy a day rover ticket for the tram for just €7.50. Now I reckon that's quite a bargain. Anyway, Johnny's keen to have a word, so I'll leave it to him to let you know what's going on.
And good morning on a lovely March morning here in Knokke in Belgium. And it's not trains today, even though I got off the train at Knokke station. I'm actually here to ride the tram. And this is the one that goes up the Belgian coast all the way past various ports that used to be synonymous with ferries to and from the UK. Now, of course, all swept away by the Goliath that is the Dover-Calais crossing. But anyway, yeah, I've got a day ticket, which is just €7.50, and I'm going to spend the day hopping on and off these trams and having a look at what we can see on the way. And I can't remember who advised me to do this in the comments, but it must have been at least a year ago, I think, when somebody said you really ought to try out the tram that runs along the coast here in Belgium. So that's what I'm going to do, and yeah, let's hop on and get this 10:40 departure, and then after that, who knows.
Knokke is at the eastern end of the line, so my first leg will be to travel down past the port towns of Zeebrugge and Blankenberge. Then I'll carry on past the seaside resort of De Haan and Zee before swinging into the major stop on the line at Ostend. After some fresh air at Ostend, I'll rejoin the tram for the run right alongside the beach past Middelkerke to yet another port at Newport. And from there, the final section continues on to the terminus at De Panne station. Now, the whole line is 67 kilometres, and if you did it in one go, it would take around 2 hours and 20 minutes. Now, for a train, that gives a very slow average speed, but you must remember this is a tram, and there are fully 67 stops on the line. So let's hop on board and have a look around the CAF Urbos Tram whilst it's quiet. It's all open plan, made up of 4 sections with a driving cab at this front end. There's electronic readers for tickets and credit cards, but look, there's also a ticket window just behind the driver. I wonder if that's still in use. So, going to the rear, we can see that the design of the Urbos is basically two-ended, so now there's a seat here in this single-ended version. Seems like a very good place to sit. There's a 20-minute service running on the line, so the next working arrives just behind us. And as we pull away, it draws forward. As there's only a single cab end, as you'd expect, this terminus is actually a loop. And once clear of the loop, this electric tram can certainly accelerate pretty quickly. There is a depot at Knokke and a few others on the line to look after the 48 units that make up the fleet. This meter gauge line itself dates from 1885, and it currently operates on 600 volts DC overhead electrification. As we'll see as we go, the route includes a mixture of dedicated trackway and also on-street running. The Coastal Tram is in fact one of the remaining relics of a Belgian national light railway system, known as SNCV, that once had a greater route length than the National Railway Company itself. Over the years across Belgium, most tram lines were replaced by bus services. But, as we'll see, there's enough population density along this route to warrant the retention of a tram service.
Volgende halte, Zeebrugge Zeesluis. Volgende halte, Zeebrugge Kerk.
The port of Zeebrugge no longer hosts passenger ferries, but that doesn't stop it being a major port for freight. It is a hub port for the automotive industry, and it also handles shipping of oil and gas products. And we clunk our way over the swing bridge to complete our tour around the docks. The tram then joins the road traffic that is crossing over the railway lines that run to the western terminals, and then we can leave Zeebrugge behind and continue down the coast. Clear of Zeebrugge, there's a chance to sprint on to Blankenberge. And just west of the town, there's one of the loops that makes it possible to run shorter services over these more popular sections of the route. The main square at Blankenberge is where the tram connects to the railway station, which is just behind my camera. And then there's time for some true tram running up the main streets of Blankenberge. At the market station, look out for the paravang. This is a huge Belle Epoque seat and walkway. Paravang comes from the French word paravent, which literally means windscreen. And just after the marina, there's a little turning triangle for the trams. And here's a reminder that the stops are all request stops as we sail through the windmill station without stopping. Then there's another fast section as we race past the dunes on our way to De Haan.
De Haan, Waterkasteelaan.
And De Haan aan Zee looks to be an old palatial resort, and it's nice to see it's complemented by having an old palatial station to match. In fact, I think it's the only old station building I've seen so far. And now the line runs behind the dunes, which obscure some very popular beaches. Sitting at the back gives an excellent view of how they close a section of line for repairs or upgrades. Every now and again there's a concrete pad along the lines where a temporary switch can be added so a tram can run wrong line just for a short section. The first landmark at Ostend is the very impressive Royal Yacht Club with its associated marina. There's a major facility here for the bus and tram provider De Line, which reflects Ostende's central role in local transport. In our first view of Ostend port, there's definitely a lot of new pickup trucks here. I think they're Toyotas that have been unloaded, but you can point me right in the comments if they aren't. And over the bridge, yet more new cars sit on the dockside. But let's pause to enjoy these beautiful train reliefs on the bridge over the station. So our tram drops into Ostende's main station exactly 1 hour after leaving Knokke. So I think it's time for a break, a coffee and a little walk. This really is the main intermediate stop on the line. Some services commence or terminate here and some lay over here for a while before proceeding.
Well, here we are, Ostend, and probably a good point to actually have a break as the driver's left the cab. So I think that tram is having a bit of a layover before it carries on to De Panne. So I will have a little wander around and enjoy Ostend. And of course under this modern canopy here, but what you can't see and what I can see is the glorious old Ostend station. I mean, this is one of the great doorways into Europe, really. Ostend always been a major port, and well, I suppose it still is for freight, but so many people would have come in here on various passenger ferries and steamers, and the station really reflects that. It really is something quite special, and well, yeah, let's just have a look at it.
The neoclassical Ostend station was built in 1913 to serve the growing passenger numbers for both this expanding town with its attractive beaches and also a bustling port. Although there's no passengers catching ferries now, Ostend used to handle boat trains to link to ferries to both Dover and Folkestone, with their onward connections to London's Victoria and Charing Cross stations. Indeed, stepping inside, the concourse has the feel of being both a railway and a steamer terminal. Redevelopment of the platforms means only the concourse remains from the original station. But the water is not far away, and I can imagine passengers with porters carrying their trunks making a short journey from train to the awaiting steamer. So my plan is to get some fresh air and then meet the tram again a little further along the coast.
Right, the good news with it being a coastal tram is that I can get a bit of exercise here, walk down here to the Strand, which I guess is the beach, and the route of the tram goes behind the cathedral church that's on my left, and then I can pick it up a couple of stops down the line. Job's a good one.
These harbour views make it very easy to imagine the old ferries coming right up alongside the station. But my plan is to have a stroll up the boardwalk before carrying on down the coastline.
Well, I suppose if you wondered whether or not this area could actually support a tram line all the way up and down the coast, just one look at all those high-rise buildings along the front here at Ostend and beyond, as far as my eye can see, much further than the GoPro can see, then the answer is, oh yes, easily. I mean, really, there is just so much building here. And actually, haven't I picked a rather nice day? I mean, it is cold. Look, I've still got my gloves on. But the weather is lovely, the sea is calm, and yeah, I'm enjoying my little time here on the Belgian coast, so I hope you are too. So yes, the plan is to push off down the beach for a bit, get a bit of a walk, pick up the tram, and then continue on to, I said De Panne, probably? De Panne, we'll call it that until I pay attention to what the voice on the speaker says. Right, okay, let's press on down the coast towards De Panne.
It's unsurprising to find a seaman's memorial here at such a large port, but more unusual are the orange crushed steel boxes, or rock strangers. Now, I'm sure they create many different feelings in people that see them, but actually I quite liked them. Mind you, that's not the only art down here. Standing across from the imposing casino Coastal, Dancing Waves has a male and female wave coming together looking out towards the sea. The casino is also a concert venue, and it stands on the site of the original casino from 1875, which was destroyed in World War II. Casinos do seem to be a feature of this stretch of coastline. This is not the last one that we will see today. The beach huts along the promenade in front of the colonnade sit on a beach known as the Beach of Belgium. And King Leopold sits on his horse here as a relic of a bygone age. The lower figures include slaves from the laughingly titled Congo Free State. They're depicted offering the king thanks for years of exploitation, murder and mutilation at the hands of the king's colonial henchmen. The not so good old days, eh?
Right, along here, turn right, should be a tram stop. Oh, I don't know, maybe there's one over there. Oh, there it is. There's people stood around as well. Vaguely hopeful.
And with perfect timing, here's my tram. Although this one is a lot busier than the one I took to Ostend earlier. Still, I've got a chance to stand by the window near the back, and at least the windows themselves are pretty clean. I'd expect the tram to be a lot busier because, as you can see, the population density along here is pretty high. As we get clear of Ostende, the tram takes to the promenade for what many consider the most picturesque section of the line. The tram will hug the coast here, almost running along the beach itself. Quite stunning. One downside is the broken PA system on this tram. Now, I can edit most of the announcements out for you, but here's an idea of how awful it was. Mind you, it would take a lot to spoil this view. Soon the tram line leaves the seawall and we swing into the streets of Middelkerke. Now we're in Middelkerke, it's not long before we pass its big cactus-shaped casino. Who knew Belgians loved to gamble at the seaside so much? And the next conurbation is Ostend. As I ride along, I'm beginning to think that all put together, the towns along the tram line make what you could call a ribbon development city. And the tram itself is a perfect way of joining up all the dots. And once across the Iser, we're into Newport itself. Newport has a mix of commercial jetties and marinas. And then when we get to the west end of the town, there's a whole lot of new developments. Then we have a sharp turn as we change from being northbound back to westbound. And there's still so much Newport buildings left to go. But eventually we get back with just the sand dunes for company. Finally, this angular house marks the start of the general broad conurbation of De Panne. And there's time for one more clunky crossing of a temporary switch, so we can run wrong line for just a little way. There's track laying here, and I do notice that the older track that we are on still has wooden sleepers. As we head on, there appears to be some kind of event happening, and judging by the number of cycles around, I think it's a bike race. Well, there's still time for one more surprise. As I speak only English, I therefore have no idea who or what Plopsa is. Apparently, Plopsa have theme parks which are connected to cartoon characters from Belgium's Studio 100. This Plopsa Land is a water-themed park with the main character being Vicky the Viking. Now, don't ask me any questions on this, I'm just reading what I found out. And so finally our now nearly empty tram rolls into De Panne station, where there's also a De Haan facility for both trams and buses. De Panne railway station itself is now a terminus with trains to Ghent, Antwerp and Brussels. Originally it was a through station as this line continued on to Dunkirk.
Well, that's the route complete, and as you can see at De Panne, the main line is here connecting with the tram, although I suspect this mainline train isn't really going to be going anywhere, as there's not a lot of trains running because of the industrial action. Anyway, the thing to do now is just check on my Google map and then work my way round to the seafront, which is sort of down there, and then I shall pick up the tram and work my way back, although I might stop at one or two places on the way, so let's see how this goes.
De Haan's SNCB station really is lovely, and its lettering highlights that it's really in Adinkerke, not De Haan. Oh, and apparently there is also a campaign group trying to get the line to Dunkirk reopened too. I shall take a walk back through De Haan to stretch my legs. And of course I've no idea when or if the cycle race will come through here, but I might be lucky, you never know. Anyway, wait until the end if you want to see some bikes. Meanwhile, I'll be picking up a tram back towards Ostend where I can then catch a train back to Bruges. But I might just get off and have a walk by the sea.
Right, I've hopped off at Middelkerk just to have a look at one last thing before I make my way back to Bruges. So come along, let's have a look at something that's old, or maybe not that old. As I was walking along here, I was thinking to myself, blimey, that catenary must get one hell of a pasting from all the salt water and the salt coming in from the sea. And yeah, it's quite corroded in places, but you know, I guess they know how to look after it.
So here's what I wanted to take a closer look at. It's the Atlantic Wall Museum of the German Battery and Defences, and it actually dates from the First World War with additions from the Second World War. Well, it certainly cuts a dramatic pose with the gun barrels pointing out across the tram lines towards the sea. I hope you've enjoyed this little exploration here on the Belgian coast of what is, I think, the world's longest meter gauge tram line and the world's second longest light rail system. Do let me know your thoughts in the comments and feel free to give me advice on other trips I could make. And also don't forget, you can now become a channel member which will get you early access to videos like this, and also other benefits like quick taster videos released very soon after I've travelled. I think it's time to watch the bikes go past. And if you haven't seen how I got to Bruges from London the day before, then you could also click here.